knew I'd get you to do something. I just started. Did you know that I started it, Lyndon? That's right, everyone. Lyndon's back here now.
Not fired.
You're not you're not fired from the podcast. You were fired.
Yeah.
You fired yourself, and then you rehired yourself, and we went through the paperwork and
Contract negotiations.
Yeah, you were playing hardball. What did you say?
Hashed out.
Oh, they said hashtag, and I was waiting for whatever the hashtag was going to be.
No.
Hashtag negotiations.
Hashtag contracts.
Hashtag playing hardball. That's your next podcast. We just keep making new podcasts.
Playing hardball with Lyndon.
Just slight variations on a theme. By the way, you're listening to... Am I too loud right now? Is that what's happening? Is that too... That's too... Is that perfect? Okay. You're listening to Mission Stories, Lyndon.
Yeah, that's the one.
If you're listening to this right now, Lyndon, we write little messages for ourselves for later on. Oh, Troy, by the way, you have to go pick up some milk from the store. It's May 25th, by the way.
Like you're going to be listening to this.
Like on May 25th, I'll be listening, and I'll be like, oh, thanks. Thanks, former self. Yeah, so this is Mission Stories. Okay, so last episode... we did this whole thing, and then we recorded these really boring stories about dogs, and then we were like, these are terrible. So then we got rid of those, and then we re-recorded another thing about a dog story from Lyndon's youth, and then here's from my perspective. I'm walking home from work, and I get a frantic text message from Lyndon saying we need to take it down. Walk us through it, Lyndon. What happened?
I think you nailed it.
I texted you, and then you took it down.
Yeah, I was telling my parents about the latest episode, about how we're like, you know what? We don't need to tell mission stories. Let's tell real life stories that happened 12 years ago.
Oh, because missions didn't happen in real life, Lyndon?
No.
We imagined it all.
Yeah, regular life.
Excuse me, regular, normal life.
Not mission life.
All right.
And my father was like, people go to court for that stuff. People get brought up on charges for those kind of things. And I was like, no. Not those kinds of things. And he's like, yeah. And I was like, I think, the statute of limitations is probably up, 12 years later. But he's just like, you can't put those things on the internet. And I was like, you know what? You can't. But for the true and faithful listeners who already have it downloaded and have already listened to it,
yeah,
they know exactly what happened.
Can you go into that in full detail again right now? Exactly what happened? Can you retell the story?
Just retell the story.
Yeah, just kidding. Okay, so fair enough.
It just involves country life.
Yeah, it's just country life, and sorry guys, my laptop made a sound. Yeah, I don't know what to make of it. I do know what to make of it. It's just it's your family story. You know what I mean? What if all of my, kind of family stories were put out there, and then my parents were like, whoa, you can't tell that to the world on the internet. That stays forever.
Yeah, I guess, right?
Forever, yeah.
Well, I it's all your fault.
It's I was thinking about that too.
And it's because you love these stories.
Yeah.
You love the dirt.
And
I love dishing the dirt.
I was listening back to it, I was like, I don't know what's more disturbing, the story or my reactions to the story. I love the story.
And then the goose story as well. It's like the NSA listens to this podcast for sure. Uh-huh. And I don't want to get stopped at the border the next time I try to go to America.
The NSA loves mission stories. They just can't get enough.
They're going to be like, we know what you did.
Trump's in the Oval Office, getting all up to date.
And then I have to explain to them about the goose incident.
Yeah. It's fair. It's totally fair, and I think it was probably for the best. Stirred up a little controversy.
Yeah, my sister was like, "How could you?" And she's like, "She thought I told the alpaca story," and I was like, "I didn't even tell that one."
We were planning on telling that one later on.
And she was like, I was like, "I guess it takes one animal rights activist to report on us." She's like, "Not even. It doesn't even take that."
What does it take then?
I don't know.
If not that.
It's the SJWs, Troy. The SJWs are coming after us in this podcast.
The super gelatinous workers?
I think gelatinous starts with a G.
It does.
Super Jello.
Super Jello. Anyway, all right. Well, what can we talk about then?
We get to do the
If
whole.
we can't talk
we get to
about-
talk about the whole things that we talked about in the last episode. June 9th.
June 9th. Yeah. I got an email about that from an eagle-eared listener. You can't say eagle-eyed listener. That doesn't make any sense. An eagle-eared listener named Alex Williams. He has a podcast of his own, I believe. And do we know what that podcast is called?
My Wax Museum.
My Wax Museum. Check it out. Where can you check it out? Do we know that?
SoundCloud.
SoundCloud. My Wax Museum. Interesting name. What do you think it means? What does it mean?
Well, a wax museum is like
Should we
a
get into
collection of fake people made of wax.
Oh, okay.
So I think
Oh, we got
on the
emails.
podcast he interviews people, and I think by calling it My Wax Museum, he insinuates that all his friends are fake, not real. Wax people. People of no substance.
Sorry, I was half reading this email. Can you say, so he thinks all of his friends are fake?
I don't know. You'd have to ask him.
Are you saying
Why would he call them wax people?
that everyone in Alex Williams' life, to him, has no substance or value?
Yeah. You know what? I think the listener should go listen to the podcast and decide for themselves.
Man, we're the worst podcasters ever. No, I think it's pretty good. I saw like a video. He's a really good videographer. So go check out his stuff. I think he's on YouTube. He's got to be.
He's everywhere.
He's
got
everywhere.
Instagram.
He's got Instagram.
He has like a special Instagram account just for like taking pictures of people's hands.
What is this? The Alex Williams podcast?
Yeah. Enough of that guy.
Enough. Anyway, here's an email he wrote us. I haven't read this. I hope it's good. Hey, Troy and Lyndon. With regards. All right. So last time, I don't know if you caught this, we talked about President Nelson coming to Calgary.
Oh, I got more
to say
more
about
hot
that.
takes and scoops on that.
My friend who is not a Mormon, he listened to that episode and he was like, yeah, no, it was very informative about upcoming events. And I was like, all right, to the non-Calgary, non-Mormon. That was probably kind of boring. Hopefully not too boring. Anyway, hey, Troy and Lyndon, with regards to which stake President Nelson will be visiting, I have heard that President Nelson's bro-in-law lives in Calgary, bracket, his wife being from Raymond, close bracket, but not in the Calgary stake, the OG as you called it. So there are other candidates. Also, when I read the email from our stake presidency, I translated it in my head to stop asking, you loser. He isn't coming here, so stop asking. We hate you all. I'm just adding some of that. The real quote was, stop asking. He isn't coming here, so stop asking. President Nelson is going to another stake, and we aren't going to tell you which one because we all know you think you deserve to be there, but you don't. K, close quote. Rereading it, I realized that's not what it actually said, but it felt like it. As to why he is coming, he put a lot of whys on there. Probably just to visit. No big news. I think he's just taking advantage of his good health to get all the way around the world. True and faithful, Alex Williams.
Okay. So interestingly
he
enough,
thinks he's joyriding around the world, President Nelson.
Okay, well, I've got some things to say in response to that email.
Yes, please.
Since we have the joy of the future to deal with it.
Yes.
He absolutely is going to your stake.
To my stake.
Yeah, that's who will, well, I don't know, like, where he'll be staying, like I don't know where his brother-in-law lives.
Yeah.
So that was the other big thing. They're like, oh, his wife is from Raymond and lived in Calgary.
Yeah.
So that's the connection. That's what they want you to think. But yeah, they're doing the broadcast from the Calgary stake.
Who told you this?
My parents.
Your parents.
Who also live in that stake.
Likely source.
Because they were told how to get tickets.
Makes sense. Now I believe.
They're like, this is the benefit of having 9 a.m. church. They're like, we were the first to know.
They were camping out, basically.
Yeah.
9 a.m. for those sweet tickets.
But
those sweet President Nelson tickets.
My father, Eric Naglis, always named on the podcast. Mm-hmm. He was speaking to a former mission president, a guy who is in the know.
Title drop, rather.
And he said, the president of the church, the prophet,
Big P,
only goes places if there's a problem that needs to be solved.
That makes sense, because like, why would he just like, go somewhere for the kicks?
Yeah, why would he come to Alberta just because his wife is from here?
Why would he do that? Truly though, honestly though, I mean, she could go by herself.
Yeah.
He's the prophet. What do you think the prophet does day to day?
Apparently he solves problems.
He's going out.
Alberta has some major problems.
Big. What do you think the problems could be? I tried to coax some problems out of you last time. You wouldn't bite. I was like, what do you think they're going to Lethbridge for? You're like, I don't know, Troy. Let's stop speculating.
Well, now it's been confirmed, basically, rampant apostasy.
Oh, my goodness. For missionaries, do you think?
I don't know.
Oh, come on. Speculate.
I mean, yes, absolutely.
100%. Okay, we got another email.
I think
from
there's probably stake presidents that are on the loose now. He needs to rein them in.
You go the complete opposite way and start like spitting libel and stuff, and just like yeah, President Beep is having an affair with Beep. I beeped those myself. All right, here's an email from Jeremy Olson. Hey guys, good 4th edition of Mission Stories, the one we deleted. Just a little reminder of information. President Nelson won't be in Lethbridge. He will be in Raymond, and all of Alberta can hear him speak at 6 p.m. His wife is from Raymond. We know that, Jeremy. Just some insider info. Oh, thanks, Jeremy. Also, Mr. Naglis' knowledge is unreal, and soon he will be a stake president. Is he saying you're going to be a stake president?
I don't know.
Yes, in due time.
Mr. Naglis is my father.
Troy, call me Lyndon. Troy, you will be his counselor, and I will be in awe. I bet he will be the second counselor. I'll be your first counselor, of course. P.S. Can one subject be about ghettos and how to survive? I looked at the word and I was like, should I read it? P.S. When I was in Gary, Indiana, December 2000, it was the murder capital of North America at the time, and I lived. P.S. Great job. Wolfpack for life. Your Lethbridge listener, Jeremy. Huge fan. Non-stalker.
God bless Jeremy.
Do you think he is a stalker? I feel like the reason he said not a stalker is because he is one.
That's a good point.
I feel like people don't bring that up unless it's like they're trying to hide something. You're giving this real thought right now. You're actually trying to give that last episode really threw you for a loop.
I just can't say things.
Yeah. Meanwhile, I'm over here like bleeping myself like an idiot.
I like Jeremy's aspirations.
For you.
Didn't he say all three of us are going to be in a stake presidency?
I said he didn't put himself in the presidency. I just added that, yeah.
Okay. Well.
I feel like nothing would get done if we were the stake presidency.
Nothing or too much?
The President Nelson would be out here so quickly if we were in the
Every other
presidency.
weekend.
Yeah, he'd be having to sort us out. Because I, for one thing, I'd cut church down to like sacrament meeting, and just the sacrament part.
Every fifth Sunday is when you have a second hour.
Yeah,
and
you talk about something real spicy, something real meaty,
and like fountain soda gets installed in every building. I would go to church for 5 hours.
Yeah.
If I could have a big gulp every now and then.
Every 10 yards, there's a fountain, a soda fountain.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, we'd blow our budget on that, and President Nelson would come out and dust his feet off on our faces as he kicked our faces, because that guy can do judo. He can.
He seemed more like a Taekwondo kind of guy.
he's an Aikido man. He uses your movement to destroy you.
Certainly not jujitsu.
Why not?
That's beneath him.
Literally, it happens on the ground. Am I right?
Amen.
We'll put a sound effect in there later for to cue the audience to laugh.
Is this a new milestone though? Was that 2 emails?
Yeah. 2 emails in the mailbox, unlooked at. I guess you should all know, if you send us an email, we will probably just read it blindly on the podcast. So please don't take advantage of that.
Or do.
The
knowledge is yours to work with.
Do what ye will with it. Do we have any other business to attend to?
Maybe we got to unhype our guest.
Right, yes.
People did hear that episode.
People did hear the episode. We did say we were going to have a guest next time, which would be this time. We do not have a guest.
No.
It's kind of a funny story, actually.
His people got in contact with our people.
And said, our client is way too good for you. He will not chance his career, his life.
We literally couldn't afford him.
His reputation on such garbage. And they said garbage like that.
They're just like, you think he would come on to this shoddy podcast? And we were like, yeah, we thought he would.
We thought he would. And then they're like, well, you're wrong, you idiot. And I was like, that's a little inflammatory. Idiot.
But it's just more inspiration.
Yeah. So anyway, we don't have a guest today like we thought we might, unfortunately. So apologies for that. Did you ever have families set you up to teach somebody like a surprise lesson? It was an attack, basically.
Like they were running an intervention for one of their friends?
So I had this one family, and they were the richest family to this date. They had the biggest house. It looked like a bank. I think it used to be a bank or some sort of government building. It was in Dallas, Georgia. If you're listening and you're from Dallas, Georgia, you probably know who I'm talking about, and you probably know the house. Like literally, it looks like City Hall. It looks like really old men make important decisions there. But it's just like this. It was this family of 5 that lived there. It was incredible. So anyway, we we had this situation where they were like, okay, here's what we're going to do. You're going to come to the house, and we have this family, and they're having dinner. We're having dinner, and you guys are going to come, and like, it's going to be like a surprise. You guys are going to show up. And
like you're just going to teach a dinner mess, share the dinner message. That's it, right?
I don't know what they wanted. And I was very young missionary, and I had no idea what they expected or what they wanted. I guess I could have asked. I did not ask, though. So anyway, we go. I was like agonizing about it all P-Day, and then it's like time for the charade. And we show up at this mansion of a house, ring on the like, the knocker, the door knocker.
Mm-hmm.
And then you hear steps for about like 5 minutes of like them walking from the back of the house to the front. They answer the door, And it was like, it was the father of the house, and he's like, "Oh, hello, elders. Come in." Like it was like, touch the nose. We're both in on it, sort of thing. And we get to the back and into the kitchen, and they're all sitting at dinner, and they're all eating. And then it's us, and we're just like, "Hey."
What?
And
You
they're
weren't
like,
even like invited for
no,
dinner?
it was like the whole premise was that we were coming to just like to crash. And then once we were there crashing, we were supposed to, I don't know what we were supposed to do. So like we get there and we're sitting at the island in the kitchen while everyone else is at the table eating some food. And my companion and I are just like looking at each other like, what do we do? And then we're sitting at the island in the kitchen, and then we're just like, okay, time to share the message. And what do? We share the entire first lesson.
Might as well, huh?
With a family and with people who wanted simply to enjoy a nice dinner in a former bank that turned into a house. And that was maybe one of the worst experiences of my life. Just like, and I was training too, so my companion, like, we were both just like clumsily like going back and forth. And I think we committed them to baptism, or we tried to. We
Like
went
old soft commit?
Yeah, we'd be like, we'd ask like a question, be like, "Do you like, why do you think there's so many churches?" And they'd be like, just like eating their steak and be like, "I don't know." And we'd be like, well, let me tell you why. And then we got to the end and we were just like, we're like, "Will you be baptized?" And I don't think they answered. I don't think anybody said anything for like 5 minutes. And they're like, "All right, elders, well, thanks for coming by. Take some dessert with you on your way out." And, then we leave, and it's just like, poof, big old bank doors close behind us. So that was our like horrible, gosh, there were so many of those lessons.
How did you record that for your stats?
It was a lesson. I guess it was a member present lesson. They were not investigators because they were,
They didn't keep any.
they wanted nothing to do with any of it.
They didn't accept a commitment.
No. I don't know what we asked them to do, but I remember feeling bad about myself after that. And the lesson I learned was like, anytime I feel bad about a lesson, it's going to go bad. And it did. And that was, how many, were you a good teacher?
Yeah, 100%.
So like, you would ask people, how often would you ask people to be baptized? Was that like something that was introduced in the beginning of your mission or like later in your mission?
I remember about halfway through, Richard G. Scott came to our mission, and the one thing he wanted to teach us was how to properly soft commit someone on the first lesson. And it was a thing I had done a little bit of when I felt prompted to.
Yeah.
And then he was just like, this is how you do it. These are the scriptures to use. And he specifically would use the introduction to the Book of Mormon to get people to soft commit.
Yeah.
Because it's like a big, checks their understanding, where it's like, when you know these things to be true, will you be baptized? And they're just like, obviously, they're not understanding what you've been teaching them.
Yeah. They've been smiling and nodding.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And, you got to get them, you got to let them know what you're about from the very beginning. Because it's like, when you know these things to be true, will you be baptized? They're just like, oh, they realize that's the end goal, and it requires me to do some things.
Yeah.
So, I was all about that.
And you were really good at it. And people were just like, "Yes, Elder Naglis, I will be baptized. Let's go into this river, this Arizona." How many? I guess that you're in the desert, right?
Yeah.
Georgia was full of puddles of water, just so everybody knows. Just everywhere. There was like the road, and then there was like a ditch, and usually there was like a few inches of rainwater or something.
Just moisture everywhere.
So baptisms, right, roadside baptisms were a possibility.
Because they had canals in Arizona. So just be like, out to the canal.
To the canal. Yeah, I just remember. Did they have? Because like I was in the Bible Belt, and so we would encounter a lot of religious people of all varieties, and so with that came like religious fanatics. Did you have religious fanatics in Arizona, or was it sort of this sterile, atheistic kind of a place?
Well, no. Arizona is just like southern Utah, basically.
Lots of Mormons.
There's lots of Mormons. Everyone knows a Mormon, except like they're very proud that there's lots of Mormons, but they're like, but we're not like Utah.
Yeah.
So they're like, we're cool. We're not weird. We don't live in a Mormon bubble.
No.
So that's kind of how it was. I ran into like one Pentecostal preacher.
Yeah.
And he was just like, I know you tell people to read the Book of Mormon and pray about it. So he's like, you read Acts chapter 2 and you pray about it. And I was like, I will. And he's like, I'm glad. And that was about as fanatical as it got.
That was it.
Well, then there was one, there was a Catholic fellow who would call into Salt Lake.
Yeah.
To get us to come out and visit him. So that, and we would show up to his house and he'd have, Brigham Young's discourses on the coffee table, ready to go. And his wife would be like, I'm going to the next room. I can't deal with this.
This was sport for him.
Yeah, it was. So that was, I think he might have been an ex-Mormon who converted to Catholicism. So that's pretty wild.
Why would you convert from another religion to another religion?
For several reasons.
Why would you do it, Lyndon?
Well,
for a woman, right? Or like your spouse?
Nah. I mean, I wouldn't.
You wouldn't.
I wouldn't personally.
No, but that's why people do it. That's why people become Jewish and Catholic and whatever.
Yeah. Like, why does a Mormon become a Catholic? I have no idea.
Right. Oh, so he was a Mormon, and then, or he just knows a lot about Brigham Young and the discourses, and every weird thing Brigham Young ever said in the written word.
Was it one of my favorite little Bible bash sessions? Yeah.
Bible bash.
Little Bible bash. Because my companion at the time was not the brightest. The kind of guy who...
What was his IQ, would you say?
Like, I'm trying to think what these legal limits are on things for classifications. Like, he had not read the Book of Mormon until his transfer with me. He finally got to the end of it. And he was reading in, like, in Moroni. When the Lamanites like start eating people. And he's like, can you believe this? Have you heard of this? And I was like, I have, as someone who's read it several times. And so then, of course, his next dinner message, he shares that with the members. He's like, it got so bad, they were eating people. And they're like, thank you, elder.
Oh, my goodness. What a bad missionary he was. What was his name?
Not important.
I think, like, the thing about... I liked... It was nice to teach with companions, but, like, I feel like one of my biggest challenges that I had was... if I was annoyed with the way that my companion taught, but other people seemed to enjoy it, I hated that so much. That would make me so mad. That would just boil my blood. Like, why can't you see how, like, fake they sound, or how, can't you sense that? Can't you sense this person's disingenuousness? And And I don't know, but so that would just bubble up inside of me. That's what I was doing during lessons instead of praying for my companion.
You were upset
I was
that
like,
others couldn't recognize how trash he was compared to you.
I was just jealous, man. I was such a jealous, prideful missionary. I was the worst missionary for that. Like, I'm sure all of my companions would agree how.
I mean, I was probably praying that my companion does well because I don't want him to reflect poorly on me.
You were praying that he did well, just so that he wouldn't bring up cannibalism in the Book of Mormon.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're just like, please, please, please don't bring up.
Well, I mean, if your junior companion looks like a genius, they're just like, well, obviously it's the senior companions. You know, he did this.
Yeah. Or it's just a really smart junior companion.
Well, that can't be sure.
No one can know.
Just like when you're a senior companion, everything that goes wrong is your fault. So everything that goes well, also your fault.
I guess so. Yeah, I just remember like this missionary who it was my second companion, and my big brother, stepdad sort of companion. And he used to do this thing. I remember like my trainer in Companionship Inventories, he would, and for those who don't know, a Companionship Inventory is when you basically sit across from each other and roast each other about being missionaries. And you're just like, what can I do to improve? And then you tell the other person in the nicest way possible. My trainer was just like, dude, you're doing really well. Great job. My second companion was like, you use too big of words. You use fancy words and people don't understand what you're saying. And so we had this, right away I was just like, okay. Things are a little different here. So one of the things that he would do when he taught that really bugged me was he would, whenever he talked about Jesus Christ's crucifixion, he would mime the crucifixion. He would stretch his arms out side to side as if he was being crucified. And he would talk with his hands out the whole time he's talking about the crucifixion. And
Genius.
the result of this was that usually his hand was like right in front of my face as we're talking. And so he would just like, I would just be sitting there. He'd be like waving his hand inches from my face while he's talking about the crucifixion. And I would just like sit there and stare through his fingers at the investigators.
Know what you should have done?
What?
You should have licked the back of his hand.
I should have been like, excuse me, move that hand. I can't see.
All you got to do is lick the back of his hand once.
Yeah.
Message received.
Message received. He keeps doing it. I'm like, I think you want me to lick your hand, bro. Yeah, I don't know. I was a prideful little guy. He was like, one time we were riding our bikes, same companion, and he rode his bike kind of crazy, and I was like trying to keep up with him, and he rode his bike down the opposite road lane, so it's like against oncoming traffic, and it was just like, and so he does this, and I think someone might have honked at him or something, and I got like really mad at him for this for some reason, and so I like ride up beside him, and I was like, don't do that or something. I just like screamed at him. He later told me in a Companionship Inventory that he didn't like it when I yelled at him. And I was like, fair enough.
How often did you do it every week?
Every week. You didn't?
I can count the number of Companionship Inventories I had on one hand.
Are you? Wow. Okay. How many was it? One?
It was 4 or 5.
4 or 5. So you were just like, we're not doing that.
No.
Why didn't you want to do it? You just didn't want to get roasted. See, you get to like, roast as well, though.
But it was it's like robotic and forced. I was like, if we have issues, We'll figure it out on the streets. It's like I'm not waiting till companionship inventory to tell my companion they're being an idiot.
Really? So you were very like upfront with people.
Yeah.
Did you ever have to straighten anybody out?
Well, often I would just observe. I'd be like, "Is this correctable?"
Yeah. you would be so you would assess if it was even worth bringing up.
Yeah.
Okay. And then what's the next step in the decision tree?
It's like, this is correctable. Then it's like, we're either gonna suss it out right then and there on the sidewalk.
Yeah.
Or like on our bikes. Or, some other time, maybe during companionship study.
Yeah.
I would do companionship study.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I learned this as I was going home from my mission. One of the assistants was like, "We're going to miss you, Elder Naglis. You were the mission psychologist." And I was like, "Wait, what does that mean?" He's like, "Well, President realized it was cheaper to send missionaries with mental health issues to you than to a psychologist." And I was like, that explains so much.
So were missionaries were better after they were with you?
Yeah. Well, it was like, I would do like the reverse Freud, where I would lie down on the couch, and then I would like do cognitive behavioral therapy.
And tell them all your problems.
No. I would still act as like the therapist.
Yeah.
But I would be the one lying on the couch. And they
That's the only difference.
That's the only difference. I would lie on the couch, and then we would go and do like psychoanalysis, like talk therapy and cognitive behavioral therapy.
Yeah.
And so.
And you knew what you were doing. You didn't accidentally screw someone up for the rest of their lives just based off of like the wrong Dr. Phil chapter or something.
I mean,
you're like, Dr. Phil says,
to
buck
say,
up, buddy.
To say that you could screw someone up is to say that like psychotherapy actually works.
So you're positing that it doesn't work.
Or if it does, it's usually all because the other person was willing to help themselves or whatever.
Fair enough.
Basically, it's like I was a very non-judgmental senior companion.
Right.
So a lot of people responded to that very positively in regards to their mental health.
Okay.
And it would drain me mentally and emotionally. So the cycle was, I'd have a companion with mental health problems. Then I'd have a junior companion that was a future zone leader.
Yeah.
And he would just like take over the area for me. And then once my mental health was back up to par, then I'd get another junior companion with problems. To learn at the end of the mission that I wasn't imagining this cycle, that it was all real, that they're just like, should we send this missionary to a therapist? It's like, that takes time and money. Just let them be companions with Elder Naglis.
Do you like that you sort of helped them, or,
I have no idea if I helped anyone.
But like, is it nice to think that like your mission president valued you in that way?
Sure.
You really haven't thought about that, have you?
I suppose one could take satisfaction from such a thing.
But you don't.
Well, it was a double-edged sword.
Why?
I got some crazy companions. Not even crazy. Some of them were just like not well.
Yeah.
A mission is a stressful time.
Uh-huh.
You can take a grain of sand in your mind, in your psyche, and it'll become a dust storm because you went on a mission.
Yeah. Also a pearl.
Alternatively. But because the other double-edged, the other side of that was that my junior companions would just stab me in the back.
Why?
To climb the ranks.
Oh.
Because it's like I had one companion who had so much anxiety that he'd whip out his Pokemon cards. We had 10 minutes left of lunch, and he's like, "Do you want to play a game of Pokemon?" And he knows it takes like half an hour. He knows if we play a game, we're going to be like half an hour out late for lunch or something.
Yeah.
But I know that he gets crippling anxiety, and it helps him.
Yeah.
So I do it.
Right.
And then he tells them, tells our mission president, he's like, Elder Naglis makes us stay in for lunch or something. So that they become like a senior companion or something.
And then the next transfer, that guy's his own leader.
No, because these people are also not capable of that.
These people
But they
are
try to
incompetent.
climb the ranks of the mission with ice picks in my back.
And they did.
So yeah, that also made me very upset on
Yeah.
the mission. Where I was like, I was just trying to help these people.
How many companions did you have?
10?
10. There's 17 transfers at a mission.
Yeah.
We use transfers a lot, folks. Maybe we should clarify it. A transfer is a period of 6 weeks. Over the course of 2 years, I think you have 17 6-week periods, and they're called transfers.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, you can divide up, the next 2 years of your life in 6-week increments.
So yeah, what was the longest companion you had?
I had a lot of companions. I guess that's the original point, right? It's like the more companions you have, the closer your companions are to 17 or over that number.
Oh,
You're kind of you're a troubled missionary potentially, or they just like to move you around a lot. But that's the insinuation, is that you're like a troubled missionary. Also, if you have a lot of areas. I had a lot of areas and I had a lot of companions. I moved around a lot. Like I had 4 1-transfer areas.
wow.
Which is a lot.
You were like a hurricane.
Yeah. I went in my first 1-transfer area. I trained, and it was a whitewash, which is a term for they just switched out the last 2 missionaries. Like there's no overlap. There was nothing worth, that the last missionaries had done that was worth continuing.
A clean slate.
A clean slate. So I did that 2 times, trained both times. The longest companion I had was 6 months. I had one. He was first one of my 6-week areas, just like 1 transfer. And then later in the mission, we were companions again for 4.5 months or 3 transfers. It got to be, we got to know each other extremely well, and we were very sick of each other by the end. I still consider him a good friend. Who was your longest, or how long was your longest companion?
My longest companion was 3 transfers.
So, what is that, 4.5?
Yeah, 4.5 months.
months.
Also my favorite companion,
Cool.
but that was mostly because he got sick. Like he had
He stayed
the
out
wildest,
of my way.
the wildest like throat infection, like tonsillitis,
Ooh.
cryptic tonsils.
Cryptic.
And it was like this big deal because he got like, at one point, because he had to get surgery,
Yeah.
and like his uncle came to just stay in our apartment with him.
His
And
uncle came?
Yeah, his uncle was like staying in our apartment, hanging out with him during the day, and I had to go out and do missionary work by myself.
By yourself?
Like, and it got wild. Like, I would just call up like priests in the ward and be like, "Yo, come drive me to here. We got," and then they'd be like, "Hey, I gotta go to work," and they would just like abandon me by myself on a street corner. And I'm just like, I am not supposed to be alone
This is
in the
not
middle of the
good.
city. And it's like, because they're like Elder Naglis, don't you dare hang out in the apartment just because your companion is convalescing from his surgery. And so it's like, well, what do you want me to do? So I was like, well, yeah. I just hung out by myself in the city as a missionary until another priest showed up.
Did you take your tag off?
No.
You kept it on.
Yeah. And
You're
then,
just a one lone missionary. Were people like, what is that missionary doing by himself?
no. Well,
Dang.
it wasn't that long.
Oh, okay.
This is kind of like in the middle of the city. People are too busy,
Yeah.
rushing along here and there.
Rushing along here and there.
But I did manage to ink out a baptism during the period where I was just flying solo.
Yeah. That's awesome. I had no idea you baptized so many people. 30 is a 30?
Isn't that how many you baptized?
I count 24. So
Also, your accounting's a little different than mine.
yeah.
It's another topic to talk about.
Yeah.
Mission accounting.
Mission accounting. Because
if I counted the way you count, the numbers would go up a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said on a previous episode, I think I walked into 3 baptisms my first weekend. So I was like, all right, sure. 1, 2, 3. Boom. First transfers. First weekend, I got 3 baptisms. I'm great. And then basically, yeah, I shouldn't have counted that. Because my rule became if I was involved with teaching them. Though I did teach these people. Like one. Mm-hmm. It was like my first lesson. But yeah, no, I definitely...
Yeah.
I puffed those numbers up.
My rule was if my name's on their baptismal record,
yeah,
I count it.
Okay.
So that accounts for like, you walk into an area that someone gets baptized and you never really taught them, but your name is on their record.
Yeah.
That accounts for like people you taught but then left the area and got baptized.
Yeah.
So I thought it kind of all evened out in a while, and that's like the very official method.
Yeah, I guess that would be the
name
most
on an
official
official form.
Yeah. But I like to count the people you taught. I feel like that's the better spirit of the law way to do it. Like, because I didn't really, what kind of connection did I have with these people that I just like walked into the area? Did you ever get the feeling that like that you were more important than you were? Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know about you, but like to me, being in a place for 6 weeks felt like such a long time. Like it felt like time just slowed down so much on a mission to the point where being there for a month and a half, I was like, I'm always going to remember you guys. And I will. I will remember these people for the rest of my life. But to them, and I realize this now, especially being home,
right?
The missionaries, they're just like coming and going. They're just transients.
Little vagrants.
I don't know them. They don't know me,
Yeah,
of course, you make relationships with some missionaries, but you got to be in a place for a little while before, I don't know. It's just like the experience of the passage of time is different as a missionary as opposed to when you're home. Mm-hmm. And so I experienced this when I would go back to an area later in the mission, as I was, I'll just say it, I was a zone leader and I was an assistant at one point, and I was like, so I had opportunities to go back to old areas. And so I'd go back and then I would be like, remember me? And they never did.
And they never did.
They never did. I mean, like a little bit, like a few people, but like not as much as I remembered and loved them, And so that was a bit of a wake-up call.
Mm. In my case, it was like when I was up in the mountains, people that I used to like be in their ward in the valley, they'd come up to the mountains and they'd see me, and they would only remember me because they'd be like, wow, you've gained a lot of weight. And I was like, yes, I have.
How much weight did you gain?
On the mish?
Yes.
Oh, just a cool 50.
A clean 50.
Nice little fitty bill.
A nice, clean, crisp 50.
Yeah.
That's quite a bit. I'm not going to lie. Well, was it all over 2 years, or did it all happen kind of quickly?
Progressively over 2 years.
Okay. I'm trying to think of how much weight I gained. It's funny because I did gain weight, but I've never been heavier than I am now. I thought I was... Actually, that's not true. I was a little heavier a few months ago. But I was still like 180 by the time I got home. I was like, or wait, no, maybe I was. Maybe it was like around 200, something like that. But yeah. I think we've been talking for about an hour, something like that.
Something like that.
I think it's a good place to call it here. I think we've had some good discussions. I don't think anything too inflammatory was said.
Of course not. Not this time around. Next time, though.
Next time, we got to get everybody sort of lulled into a sense of security, and then boom, talk about something real serious, real heavy, real inappropriate for us to be speaking about.
We're going to talk about problems that neither you or I could ever solve.
And you're going to be there with us solving them. So, thanks, everybody, for joining us yet again. Another episode in the books. We appreciate you listening and your patience. We know the last, it was a bit of a debacle, and we appreciate. We wanted to make sure that we put out another episode relatively quickly to let everyone know Lyndon is not fired from the show. He's on. He's
still here.
He's integral. He's a pillar. This could not happen without him here. So thanks to you, Lyndon. Here's to you.
Here's to me.
Hoorah.
Hey.
Hey. You can check us out on Instagram at the Mission Stories Podcast. Our email is themissionstoriespodcast@gmail.com. Oh, you know what? Actually, we got another sort of shout out from someone on Instagram.
Oh, boy.
And I just wanted to... I haven't asked them if they wanted to be shouted out, so...
But here we are.
I don't know if I should do this, but I'm going to do it anyway because I'm a crazy person. Okay. This is from Miss Mora _MISSMORA. She's like, hey, I just want to say this is totally hilarious. I've listened to a few episodes while at the gym earlier, and they were both interesting and comedic. I appreciate that I'm low-key learning some random gospel facts while laughing. It's definitely not a conference talk. Definitely not a conference talk. But it's super quirky, and I appreciate the perspective of young people who care about intelligent and unintelligent gospel topics. Keep on doing it. It's great. Thanks, Miss Mora. We appreciate you. I had an idea for a segment, and I wanted to run it by you, Lyndon, and maybe by our listeners. Ranking the apostles in different ways.
Like strength, endurance.
Yeah, literally. Yeah, that's one of the things I had. Physical strength. Who's the strongest? Who's got the best style? Who's got the best hair? Who, richest. It's been a theme of this podcast. I don't know. Tell me what you think. I kind of want to do it.
I don't.
I have a question. Is Elder Hales alive? He's not alive.
No.
He passed away. Okay. Yeah. I was just checking. I was like, is he?
Let's rank the apostles by how alive they are.
Yeah. Peter, James, John, Matthias, Judas, dead.
Nathaniel.
Can we name all of them?
Are we talking about originals?
The original 12, baby.
Bartholomew.
Bart. That's all. That's all we know. The Thunder Bros.
The Thunder Bros.
Not to be confused with the Thunder Buddies from Ted.
Different thing.
Film I have not seen.
Rated R, probably.
Rated R.
And we've never watched a rated R film.
I haven't, anyway, not yet.
Maybe when I'm married, I will.
You'll allow yourself that indulgence. So yeah, thanks to everybody. Check out another podcast that myself and Theo Gibb are doing. It's called Of Good Report, ? Where we take a look at Mormon film. We take deep dives into movies you never thought you would care about until now. The first episode you heard on the previous episode was The Singles Ward by Kurt Hale. What a movie. Have you seen this movie, Lyndon?
I have seen it.
What did you think?
I thought it was a interesting take.
Is it accurate, would you say, to your single ward experience?
No.
No. No?
Maybe like 60% accurate.
That's pretty good.
Give it a D.
That for me, that was a good mark in school. 60%? Yeah, pass.
I guess we just live different lives.
I guess we did.
Yeah. Yeah, everyone take a listen. I won't.
Lyndon will never listen.
I'm used to, if I want to listen to Troy and Theo talk about movies, I go to Denny's. I go to Denny's with them, I get a Philly cheese omelet, and I shamelessly flirt with Theo's wife.
Oh, yeah. Hot takes galore.
Now you're asking me no more omelets and just listen to you guys on a podcast?
Are we going to have to take this episode down? Hopefully not. All right, everybody. Lyndon, any last words?
I hope you have a wonderful day, sweet listeners.
Sweet listeners. I hope you do too. Thanks again. We will catch you next time. Bye-bye.